Hi, Dr. D. Pasquale with the National Stem Cell Institute, and I'd like to talk to you about paralysis, or what can be done in a regenerative environment for paralysis patients. But first, what's most important to understand is that paralysis, there are two types. There's spastic paralysis and there's flaccid paralysis. Many individuals, when they think of paralysis-type conditions, they think of flaccid paralysis, where there's no use of the extremity or the body part. But there's also what's called spastic paralysis, and that's really characterized by damage in a different area. So the damage with spastic paralysis occurs in the upper motor neuron area, so typically in the brain. So we see that with strokes, we see that with cerebral palsy. When we see flaccid paralysis, where we can't use the extremity, in many cases that's the peripheral nervous system. So it can be an entrapment, it can be a spinal cord injury, it can be an injury to nerve roots or nerves themselves, and that causes a non-use issue with the particular extremity or body part. Now, either way, they're both characterized, or both types of conditions in a paralytic state are characterized by damage to central nervous system or peripheral nervous system, basically damage to nerves. And what we found in a regenerative environment is that we can greatly affect or improve the outcomes as it relates to the healing quality of that tissue. See, previously we never thought that we can heal central nervous system or even peripheral nervous system to some degree. But now we know that not to be true. And one of the ways in which we can affect or greatly affect those tissues is by offering a solution in a regenerative environment in the form of stem cell therapy or mesenchymal stem cells. And what you see here behind me was taken from a clinical study. It's called Central Nervous System Regeneration in Response to Mesenchymal Stem Cells. And this is one of the figures taken from it. So I'll just kind of show you that MSCs, basically outlined here, can do two things as it relates to healing nervous system tissue. One is they can transdifferentiate, meaning that they can differentiate and become specific nerve cells like neurons, and also accessory cells like astrocytes and oligodendrocytes, and those help just to protect and maintain those tissues, among other things. But MSCs can also secrete specific growth factors, and we call that a secretome, right? So they can secrete growth factors that aid in the healing of those tissues. So for those individuals who suffer from a paralysis type condition, we now have a solution that can aid in the healing of that individual, and it comes in the form of stem cell therapy. So what we do here in the office is we utilize primarily autologous stem cells as it relates to this condition, because the body of evidence worldwide suggests that that's the best resource. What we do is we harvest stem cells from the individual themselves. We have multiple places that we can harvest from. Once we have our population of stem cells, our job is just to deliver them on your behalf to the area of damage or dysfunction. So if it's a central nervous system issue, we have to deliver them in such a way to get them to those areas, and we do it in a very safe manner via a lumbar puncture. It is a very common type of approach in terms of applying stem cells for that purpose. And what it does is it basically allows us to do it in a very safe fashion, but also allows us to get those stem cells to the areas that are damaged. Now, stem cells will home to areas of damage or dysfunction. So if you have an issue in your brain, even though we're doing a lumbar puncture, they will go to that area based on the chemical signaling that exists in response to the injury. This was outlined in a previous video that we did for kidney dysfunction, where it really outlines the homing mechanism and shows how stem cells can go to those areas. This just gives us another tool to offer to individuals who have gone through all of the rehabilitative therapies that they can. They've exhausted all of their options, and they've gotten to a point where they're not necessarily happy with their improvement, and they want to add another tool to their arsenal. We offer that for individuals here at NSI, and we'd be happy to see you as well.